follow us at KSUWRFC. That's our college team. I've got our little crest on right now. It's so cute. But yeah, if you're interested in coming out to a practice, even just to try it, you don't have to know anything. Just show up. Come as you are, and we'll help you get to where you want to be. Same thing with Atlanta Old White. We are a new women's side. We have so much room for growth. We can be exactly what you need us to be because we're still figuring out what directions we're going in and everything. So just like whatever age you are, if you're college age, if you're a Kennesaw State student, we'd love to have you. College rugby is super special. But if you're wanting to play club side, we also would love to have you at Atlanta Old White. Just come out and try it. We're having touch at Fair Oaks Park on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And yeah, we'd love to see you out.
It's been fun to get to know you, learn a little bit more about what you're doing down in Atlanta, and
Mhm.
I can't wait to come back.
Yeah, no, of course. Please. The Atlanta rugby scene is so fun right now. Yeah, you're missing out. Come home, Sumo.
Join me, Jeremy Swick, on Into the Unknown, a podcast that delves into the personal journeys, stories, and experiences of individuals across diverse professions. As a historian by trade, I firmly believe that our personal histories shape our present and offer valuable insights into our paths ahead. With that being said, let's get into it. On this episode of Into the Unknown, I am joined with a very special guest, Mychal Glover. How are you doing today, Mychal?
Hi, I'm doing all right. Hanging in there. Final season.
I feel you. I feel you. You know, it's coming up. I spent 7 years in college, and I don't miss finals.
No, not loving them now.
I'd like to kick off the show and kind of talk about the importance of networking. How are we connected?
Mhm. So I believe that you are over the social side stuff for Atlanta Old White Rugby, right?
Correct. Correct.
Awesome. I'm working with the new women's side. We're trying to get that up and going. And I think that's as far as our connection goes.
Yeah, I think so. I think I saw you play a little bit in Hot Atlanta. I Now I live back in Wisconsin, and so I always try to get down there for the tournament and do what I can to help the guys.
Yeah. Atlanta was a lot of fun. It was the first time I think we played like with like a full side, like with numbers. We won our very first game. It was against High Country. It was a really fun game, but it just felt really good to be like, okay, so this is something we can like actually do and move forward with.
You know, it's one of those exciting things. I think when people say, let's start a rugby club, that's a lot of times
Hmm.
easier said than done. You have this idea of, okay, maybe we even found a place to practice. Now we need people to show up and actually come out with the team.
Yeah, getting numbers has been not the easiest thing, but I think moving forward, it's going to be a little better just because everybody had to go back to their college teams at the end of the summer. And then other people were like leaving the state to go back to work and everything. But we're trying to get a bigger plan together for recruitment. Recruitment is so important. Even playing with my college team, recruitment plays a lot into it. So I think having a plan as far as that one thing goes is a lot more important than I feel like people think it's going to be when they first start planning for a new team.
I could not agree more. It's so important to get a plan together and then also have people. But it's also nice to honestly win your first game. That's not an easy feat, especially as you're still growing and trying to get numbers.
Hmm. I think when we walked into that game, we were so used to like practicing with honestly just each other or a bunch of the guys from Old White. So when we walked into that game, we really were just like trying to have a good time and trying to like show what we learned and everything. I remember one of our players, his wife decided, she was like, "Hey, I want to play." And we are like, "Period, come play." It was literally her first time playing rugby ever, and she held it down. It was really cute because her son was actually playing in the youth bracket. And so him and his friends were trying to help her get her tackle form together and everything. And then I got to play with a couple of my friends from college while we were there as well. It was just like, it was a really good time community wise. All the guys were there cheering on us. Our friends from other clubs were there as well. So I think it was a good way to start things off.
You know, I couldn't agree more. And I always try to give my props to Old White when I can. I played there 4 years from 2018 to 2022, and then I moved back to Wisconsin. But as you can see, I'm just almost always rocking the gear. You know.
Hmm. No, they're sweethearts. A lot of fun to be around.
So I want to know a little bit more about you. That comic book issue number 1, that origin story. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Michael. I'm 20, going on 21. Birthday's January 3rd. In case you guys want to send me any wishes. But I think I'll give you my rugby origin story because I feel like that's a little shorter than the full, full Michael issue. Um, yeah, it's actually pretty random. I was a theater kid in high school, got to college, decided I needed to change, started working out. And I knew I wanted to try a sport. Like I knew I wanted to go like the sporty route, just like for a complete genre change. Like I needed something different. And I was really into the show Haikyuu. I don't know if you know that show. It's an anime, but it's basically about volleyball. And I had seen our Kennesaw team's rugby TikTok account, and I was like, "Oh, that looks like a lot of fun." And I ended up going out to rugby practice, and I never made it to volleyball practice after that. And I think that's kind of just been like a really consistent thing with my rugby career is I just kind of keep showing up to practices and kind of keep showing up to events, and it just kind of keeps going.
So, of all the sports you could have chosen, why rugby, and why did you stick with it? After you said you had mentioned you were interested in volleyball and trying to,
Mhm.
just figure that out.
Honestly, I think a lot of the reason I went for rugby first was because my mom said no. My mom already said no. Like, I feel like that's a lot of the reason a lot of people try new things because their parents tell them no. But my mom had told me no to going for the football team or like any of the other contact sports we had at my high school. So as soon as I got to college, along with a long list of other, household rule violations, college kids commit, joining a rugby team was, yeah, the big one.
What was that first day of practice like?
I was so lost. I was so lost. I had no idea what was going on. I didn't even know like they were like, okay, so this is they were had it because they had us like split into forwards and backs like pretty quick off for my first day of rugby. I also came a little late, so it wasn't like the first practice they'd had, but it was the first practice I went to. And I was like, oh, okay, what's a forward? And they were like, this is a forward. And I was like, oh, I still don't know what a forward is at this point, but I'm like, period. And I'm like, okay, what's a back? And they explained to me what a back is, and it doesn't click at all. So I like basically kind of simplified it in my head as like running and hitting. And it was like, do you want to run or do you want to hit? And they let me pick which like group I went to first. And I actually decided to go with forward pack first because I was like, I never get to hit stuff. Let me go hit stuff. So I went with the forwards and they kept me at flank for like exactly a game and a half. And then we were doing a scrimmage one day. We were doing a scrimmage in practice one day and I hit a breakaway. And I remember scoring the try and turning around and having like two people there. And the next practice I was back. So coach to go back to forward pack sometimes. He's told me no every single time. It's for the best, I understand. Love the back line, but you know.
So you started practicing. What is that first game like in a pretty new sport for you, at least?
My first game was a rivalry game for our school. We played UGA, who's a really fun team to play. They also have a really nice program going. And again, I told you they put me at flank. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. But to be honest, I don't think I've met somebody who started at flank and has understood what they were supposed to be doing, if I'm being so honest. But I especially was just lost. And I remember being lost because I got my only yellow card in my career, period. I got my only yellow card during this game. And it was because it was a back 10 call. I didn't know what back 10 was. I saw she picked the ball up. I hit her. I remember the referee too. Um it was really funny because like it'd be one thing if I like hit her once and he was like, no, back 10. But like he called it the first time and gave me a pass because they were like, oh, she's new. And then I did it again. Like seconds later, I did it again. And so I got the yellow card and I went out and our coaching staff was like, hey, so I'm not mad at you, but do you know what you did? And I was like, no, I don't know what I did. So that's the first game. And then our second game ever was against Life University.
And
So
anyone who's unfamiliar, Life is a very, very good program, nationally, internationally known, and I'm sure that was an experience as well. I always joke,
the
I don't
score
miss
was,
playing against Life.
yeah, the score was 160-0.
And that sounds about right.
Checks out.
They are a quality program, and they know what they're doing. I'll put it that way.
It was actually like a lot of fun, but it was also very much a beat 'em up. It was more like survive these 80 minutes.
Oh yes, I had to prop one of my first games ever propping against Life, and the guy across from me is an All American, and he realized about the second scrum. He's like, "You don't play this position, do you?" I'm like, "No, I don't." And so by the third scrum, he's kind of explaining, "Okay, get lower, get low." I mean, it didn't matter at that point. I mean,
At some point, it's in God's hands, and that's okay. But
so you get through your first season. How are you guys as a club? How is that working out?
so this will actually be my going into my third season for the club. It's been a lot of growth, a lot of growing pains. I know my first year we kind of like we were in the trenches, but we made it out pretty well. Second year was kind of about rebuilding, figuring out what works and what doesn't work for us. We didn't do any conference play for our second year, and we just kind of did like we did friendlies and just scrimmages with whoever was available. And that way we kind of like were able to figure out, okay, well, this is the amount of effort people are going to put forward. This is what people want to get out of this. This is the level we're playing at. And then this year we finally did end up joining the NCR, and we had a ball. Like we definitely had a pretty fun season. A lot of upsets for us. We lost our first game. We lost our first game bad. But after that, we went undefeated until we got to regionals, which means we were also conference champions. We beat out a team that hadn't lost to a D2 team in 3 years. So we had a pretty strong season. I think a lot of it had to do with, first of all, the effort that our new girls were putting into like playing and everything. They came out and they were hungry and they were wanting to do well and they were wanting to like really just see how this goes and figure out what they can do to be better at it. And I appreciate that from them a lot. And I think another thing that goes into it is the willingness to like share the field that came from our veteran players. I think we had we ended up doing like rotating captains, but I feel like all of our vet players stepped up and like made sure that they were guiding our new girls instead of like being like, oh, worried about playtime or anything. I feel like there was like genuine effort to make sure everybody felt welcome and understood what was going on. Yeah.
I think that's so important in building club. And as we always talk about, or as you talk about with rugby, it's a rugby club. It's not just a rugby team. You play for the
Hmm.
club. So you want to make sure that everyone feels included and is invited. And of course, the play level sometimes puts specific people out on the pitch in a game situation, but it's making sure everyone feels involved and invited, you know?
Yeah. I think our team did I think one thing that was a learning curve for us in our past seasons was figuring out how not to like force people into things. You know, because like obviously you want to have these social events. Obviously, you want people to show up for like your fundraising and everything. But also, that connection isn't going to be as strong if it's not formed naturally. So it's putting forth the invite and making people feel welcome enough to show up, and then just doing what you can to make sure you have a good time from there. And I think that's what worked out for us the best. So we did plan socials, we did plan events for everybody to hang out and everything. But I think a lot of it was just like kind of naturally letting people bond and stuff.
I think that I completely agree. I think it's, of course, in any team, especially people don't realize how big rugby teams are a lot of the times. It's
Hmm.
23 people on a roster, but sometimes, 40, 50.
Yeah, you've
It,
got 40 people coming out to practices sometimes. Not all 40 of those people are going to get along. There's no way that's not happening. So just making sure everybody knows that when we're on the pitch, there's a standard. Like, this is who you came with, this is who you're leaving with. You have to work together right now. But socially, just kind of like letting bonds form naturally or giving people the chance to get to know each other and learn how to work with each other, but not necessarily um, putting them in a situation where they'd have to be insincere, you know?
oh, absolutely. So what drew you then to joining up with Old White in the summer, I assume?
So I love my summer sevens. So summer sevens make me so happy. I love going to tournaments and stuff and playing with different teams. I remember my first seven seasons, I actually played with Atlanta 2.0 and we went all the way to nationals. But I think the part about sevens that like really I enjoy doing is I love playing with different teams, like whoring. So they know what whoring is, right? Like
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Whoring was like literally one of my favorite things to do over the summer. And I really feel like that's what made me grow as a player. So it just kind of came down to, and the way we ended up like linking up with Atlanta Old White was so like it was back when it was so simple, but like also so like, whoa, like I can't believe they said yeah. It was back when they had the Cerevi clinic and everything. And we had gone out to the afters or whatever to meet him. And we ended up talking with Benny and Francesco. And we were like, oh yeah, it'd be so cool if you guys had a women's side. And they were like, do you want a women's side? And we were like, yeah. And they were like, okay, bet. So we started going out to practice with them over the summer. And then because we didn't have numbers for real, we just picked the tournaments we wanted to go to and four. And I honestly think that's like kind of how I've got most of my rugby knowledge was maybe having somewhere set to practice, but then like playing with a bunch of different teams with different playing styles and figuring out how to like apply the same concept in different spaces. That's just the kind of thing that like makes things click for me.
Michael, I love that. I think it's so important to experience different clubs. I've had the
Oh,
fortune to play all over the country. And it's one of those things where the someone's specific play style is different than what you're used to, what your home club does, and you can kind of take those tools and just add them to your arsenal.
no, it's so much fun, and it's like you don't really expect like I feel like after you've played rugby for a certain amount of time, you have a certain pattern you're expecting. You're expecting these players to fill out these roles and carry out these responsibilities. And then if you go to a club that just like doesn't do that or does it in a different way, it's really a culture shock, but it's a good one because you're having to think about it and process like what you already know. Like you're really learning how to apply your fundamentals in different settings. And I feel like that makes you better at them. Fair?
I, I could not agree more. I think it's so important, as you mentioned, to find what helps works with you. And then if it is different than this isn't how my club at home does it, it's like you start to wonder, okay, why do they do it this way? Especially if it's a high level club. It's like, okay, then it's I think it gives you more opportunity to ask questions and try to understand, become a student of the game.
Yeah, for sure. It also gives you stuff to bring home to your home clubs. You're like, oh, hey, I did this with these people over here. Do you guys want to try? So it's really cool. Definitely recommend it.
So what is next for your rugby career? How many years of school you got left? What are your plans?
I am a junior ish. So looking like 1.5, 2 years left.
None wrong with that.
Um, well, next for me is I just got done with my first USA South rugby tour. I had a blast. We played at the Marygraham All Star Selects tournament. I sprained my ankle, still played though. Happens. Next in January, I was actually selected as an NCR All Star. So I'll be playing at that tournament too. It'll be sevens. Finally.
Congratulations.
Finally. Yeah. And then on top of that, Kennesaw State's seventh season is starting up too in the spring. So that's what I've got on my radar right now. Yeah, goal is just to keep learning, keep playing, get better at it, train more, teach more.
That's really exciting. Congratulations on
Mhm.
the
Thank
the
you.
All Star selection. Where did you go for USA South?
USA South, we went to Marygraham, so it was in Texas, Dallas.
Oh yeah, that's right, and
Mhm.
that's a pretty big tournament in itself, right?
No, it was really cool because it was like the all-star teams from different like regions. And I got like it was really nice to see everybody because like there were girls I'd seen like play for nationals and stuff and like just little different names. I was like nitpicking and stuff. And I was like, I saw you. I know who you are, or just people you'd run into at tournaments. That was the real kicker, being teammates with like people I run into at tournaments and just like recognize, but not really get a chance to interact with outside of playing against them. So that was really cool. Yeah, it was 48 degrees and pouring. The field was, I had a blast at this tournament. They did a great job throwing it. My friend who also plays rugby had told me, he was like, "Oh, you're gonna love the field. It's so nice," like full seriousness. So it was pouring rain. It was 48 degrees, and there were geese walking around before we got there. Do you think I love that field? Do you think
Not so
anybody
much.
there loved that
Not so
field?
much.
No. It got to a point where, like, when people were getting tackled, like, girls were splashing. Like, you'd hit the ground and splash. That's insane. It was still honestly probably one of some of the most fun I've had ever because you could tell how long people had been in the game by, like, how dirty their jerseys were, and that's always funny to me.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's so much fun. That's one of the things I love about tournaments too is you get to play with people that you typically play against, and the longer you
Mhm.
play, the more people you know. You go to random tournaments, you haven't seen someone in 15 years, and you run into
Yeah.
them again, and it's a really cool moment that I think is really special in rugby specifically.
Yeah, I'm literally gonna be like, I know you," at, like, every tournament this summer just because I feel like I met so many different cool people. Also more teams to go play with. Keep on my little jersey collection journey. I think I've worn almost every jersey in the state by now. There's a couple clubs I still gotta get to, but yeah, I think that's something I'm gonna look forward to doing this summer. Just playing with my new friends and everything.
It's really exciting. If people want to learn more about what you're doing, rugby club, maybe they're in Kennesaw and they want to join up a club, how can they learn more about you?
Hi. So you can reach out to me at Mychal.Glover on Instagram. Or you can follow us at KSU WRFC. That's our college team. I've got our little crest on right now. It's so cute. But yeah, if you're interested in coming out to a practice, even just to try it, you don't have to know anything. Just show up. Come as you are, and we'll help you get to where you want to be. Same thing with Atlanta Old White. We are a new women's side. We have so much room for growth. We can be exactly what you need us to be because we're still figuring out what directions we're going in and everything. So just like whatever age you are, if you're college age, if you're a Kennesaw State student, we'd love to have you. College rugby is super special. But if you're wanting to play club side, we also would love to have you at Atlanta Old White. Just come out and try it. We're having touch at Fair Oaks Park on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And yeah, we'd love to see you out.
Michael, I just want to say I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. It's been fun to get to know you, learn a little bit more about what you're doing down in Atlanta, and
Mhm.
I can't wait to come back.
Yeah, no, of course. Please. The Atlanta rugby scene is so fun right now. Yeah, you're missing out. Come home, Sumo.
I will be. I will be soon. So it's winter up
Mhm.
here right now, and so I'm looking for a reason to get back down south.
Yeah. Honestly, if you're coming for the weather, I'd say maybe hold off. It's not great down here either. It's
Well,
not fantastic. But no, come for the rugby and you'll be satisfied.
we'll talk soon.
Of course. You have a nice one. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
That was another fun episode of Into the Unknown. I truly appreciate you taking the time to listen. And if it provides you any value or entertainment, I would love if you shared it with others, liked, subscribed, and really just help the podcast grow. Again, tell a friend, tell a foe, just anyone who might enjoy hearing some stories of people's own journeys and what got them to where they are today. Till next time.